Every year, thousands of players gather around tables to play a handful of games. Dungeons and Dragons, maybe some Pathfinder. Occasionally somebody's gonna be like, hey guys, you know what'd be weird? If we play Call of Cthulhu. And then everybody applauds. But here's the thing, the tabletop RPG world is huge. There are games about tiny mice that fight insects. There are games about doomed knights. There are games about fantasy Vikings. Even games where your mood literally changes your character sheet. And somehow these incredible games get ignored because somewhere somebody's arguing whether Rangers are good or not. Today we're looking at some of the most underrated tabletop RPGs that you can play right now. They're not necessarily obscure, but they're not necessarily new, and they're just games that deserve way more attention than they're getting right now. Grab your dice and get a snack. We're about to talk about some hidden gems. Let's start with a game where you are a mouse. Duh. That's it. That's the end of the video. Thanks for watching. But no, seriously. In Mausritter, you're a brave little mouse trying to survive in a world where everything is terrifying. A cat is kind of like a dragon. Owls are nightmare fuel. A normal-sized dog? Congratulations, you have discovered Dogzilla. In most fantasy games, you get bigger and stronger. But in Mausritter, it's the world that gets bigger and stronger. A discarded Coke can becomes a dungeon. A garden becomes the wilderness. A snake becomes the boss battle. Game constantly reminds you how little and vulnerable you are, which somehow makes your victories feel 10 times bigger. Your mouse defeats a giant beetle, it feels like you just saved the world. Because for a mouse, you basically did. Have you ever tried scheduling a game night? You message the group chat. One person's at work. One person has soccer practice. One person's internet blew up. The other one has mysteriously vanished into another dimension. And suddenly your campaign gets delayed for 3 months. In comes Ironsworn. A game that basically says, fine, I'll do it myself. Ironsworn can be played solo, co-op, or with a GM. This game is built around quest and vows. You make an oath, and the game helps generate the world around you as you go. And somehow creates the coolest emerging storytelling that you've ever experienced. You start off by saying that you are going to save your brother that got kidnapped. Then 3 sessions later, you accidentally started the Civil War, adopted a wolf, and anchored an ancient spirit. Perfect. Exactly as it was planned. Pendragon is one of those games that makes you think, why isn't anybody talking about this? You play as a knight in Arthurian Britain. Sounds normal, until you realize the game tracks everything like honor, loyalty, passion, and glory. You aren't just fighting monsters. You're trying to become a legend. Your character ages, can have children, tries to build a legacy, dies, and then you gotta continue playing as the next generation. Come on, that's pretty cool. Most campaigns struggle to last 6 months. But with Pendragon, you are tracking an entire family tree. It's like if Game of Thrones had fewer dragons and way more questionable decisions involving honor. So imagine if your gaming group became the cast of Supernatural, or Buffy, or Scooby-Doo, a film that carried a Glock. That's Monster of the Week. Every session feels like an episode of a TV show. There's mystery, a monster, bad decisions, and more bad decisions. And then somebody gets thrown through a wall. The rules kind of stay out of the way and let you focus more on storytelling, which is wonderful for my little RP heart. And let's be honest, most groups act like they're starring in a Supernatural TV show. This just kind of makes it official. You know what fantasy Vikings need? Less fantasy. And that's where Age of Vikings come in. This game focuses on historic Nordic adventures, and wow, turns out Nordic history is absolutely wild. Political intrigue, blood feuds, exploration, family dramas, raiders, kings, prophecies, everything. It's ground enough to feel authentic while you're still telling an epic story. Plus, nobody can accuse your character of being unrealistic when Nordic history is kind of crazier than your backstory. Mörk Borg is like if you gave a heavy metal album anxiety, and I mean that as a compliment. This game is dark, I mean very dark. The world is ending, everybody's doomed. Bye. Bye, Jax. Sorry, there's a dog in my lap. Bad things are constantly happening, but it is genuinely one of the funniest games I think you can ever play. Because when everything is horrible, people kind of stop caring. Instead of protecting a precious character for years, you kind of embrace the chaos. Your miserable little disaster person somehow survives the impossible and becomes legendary, or dies instantly. Both outcomes are very entertaining though. Imagine if Scandinavian folklore decided to ruin your week. That's Vaesen. Instead of fighting monsters, you're investigating them. Because these monsters aren't evil, they're just misunderstood. Dangerous, ancient, complicated. The challenge isn't killing these creatures. It's figuring out what's wrong with them. It's part horror, part mystery, part a folklore documentary that's gone horribly wrong. But the atmosphere, absolutely impeccable. You like JRPGs? Because this game is like if you looked at Final Fantasy and thought, what if that was a tabletop RPG? Fabula Ultima absolutely nails the feeling of a JRPG. Over-the-top heroes, ridiculous villains, dramatic speeches, friendship-powered victories, hair that defies physics, everything. Players can mix classes together to become all kinds of combinations. The result is basically building your own anime protagonist. The result is basically that you're making an anime protagonist, which is what most of us are doing anyway in RPGs. Dragonbane is kind of like if you took old-fashioned fantasy gaming and sanded down all the frustrating parts. It's fast, easy to learn, dangerous, funny, and incredibly approachable. Combat moves quickly, characters feel distinct. The rules are really simple without feeling shallow. It's one of those games where you can teach new players quickly and have them jump straight into the game, which is a magical experience where, in a hobby, some character creations feel like you have to have a college degree to explain them. And here's the thing, none of these games are trying to be D&D, and that's what makes them great. People evaluate tabletop RPGs by asking, is it better than D&D? Wrong question! The real question is, what experience is this game trying to create? Mausritter wants you to feel tiny. Pendragon wants to make you feel like a legend. Ironsworn wants you to tell stories without scheduling fails. Monster of the Week wants you to feel like a TV hero. Mörk Borg wants you to scream into the void while you're carrying a sword. They're all doing different things, and they're all doing it incredibly well. So next time your group says, what should we play? Don't automatically reach for the same games that you've been playing over and over again. Try something weird. Try something different. Try being a mouse. Try being a Viking. Try investigating folklore creatures. Try surviving the apocalypse. Because some of the best stories you can ever tell can be hiding in the big games, but they're hiding the underrated ones as well. If you've played any of these games, tell me your favorite stories about them in the comments. And if you have an underrated or underground tabletop RPG that you want to talk about, tell it down below, let us know. Maybe you'll convince somebody to play that game. Until next time, may your dice roll high. Have a great day. Bye-bye.